Welcome, everyone, to another exciting version of Chip Talks Health. So, this is one in a new series of podcasts that we're doing with kind of our friends and people that are close to our business and people that, let's say, have helped our business. And we're kind of trying to help them. And so, our first guest in this category is Sybil Hale, and she has a company called Pros Make Ready. And you're gonna understand real quickly why we're having her on and why we're very excited to have her. But Sybil, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Chip. I really appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It's much of an opportunity for me as it is for you, so it'll be fun. So, but let's start off. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what your business does and kind of what your core business does, and we'll kind of get into human health, but around your business. So.
Yeah, just kind of to generalize it, we knock out sickness. So we help with the air quality in your space, whether it be a home, whether it be a business, whether it be a vehicle. We just make sure that the air that you're breathing, which makes a world of a difference in your health on the outside, but also you guys take care of the inside, we take care of the outside. So we're a great team that can help you have the best health that you can have.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And we get asked, in our clinic, we get asked all the time because one of the things that we're doing is really identifying pathogens inside of people. So pylori and hook-rounded pinworm and, aberrant bacteria and all this kind of stuff. But we get asked all the time by people, how do I protect myself? How do I keep all this stuff, from being exposed? So how can I, protect my environment? Can you talk a little bit about, let's say, in someone's home or in someone's car, like what can you guys do and do you kill like viruses? Do you kill bacteria? Do you kill funguses? So talk a little bit about all that.
Okay. Yes, we definitely do. So the tools that we use is an electrostatic fogger. So we feel like the best tools with the best product, the cleanest product that we can use. So we use electrostatic foggers. What that does is you got your positive ions, your negative ions, they come together and they wrap around everything. So they're getting every nook and cranny that as a human, we think of everything that we can think of to touch. But sometimes we don't think about, like when you pull a chair in, do you think about where you put your hands underneath that chair to pull it in? Most likely not. Think about the little ones that are running around the house that are touching the walls and maybe had a snotty nose and, it's just everywhere, right? This gets all of that. We use a product that's called Vital Oxide. It's been around over 80 years. It's in our drinking water. It's a very clean product. It's on the EPA list for cleanness. It's on the NSF certified. So it's safe for food surfaces. It's non-toxic. It's non-corrosive. It's non-irritant. It's just a very clean, eco-friendly product. And so what we do is we treat both the HVAC system, which is the air you breathe, and the premises, which then kills all the germs, the viruses, allergens, odors, mold, mildew, all of that you don't want.
It neutralizes allergens?
It does. Yes, it does,
Oh.
because we kill the pollens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really, really interesting. So it's, people don't realize, but if you have carpet in your home, carpet is like the, Bugville, right? And we see people, let's say, cycle through infection about every 6 months or so. So I could, completely clean somebody out, and in 6 months, they're going to kind of be reinfected with something again. And just because we don't understand this well, I mean, you could likely cut that down a lot. How frequently do you need to really, like if we wanted to do our house and kind of have it pretty sterile most of the time, how frequently would we need to have you come in and fog? And then there's a piece of equipment, I guess, that stays in the house, right?
Yep, we have options. So number one, you don't want a sterile environment, because a sterile environment, the only place you need that is in surgery, right? We want that so we don't get staph or anything else. Otherwise, we need germs. So having germs is good. But when you have a breakout, let's say you have flu and it's all over the place, right? That's where we come in. We kill all of that. And that way you have no germs, no viruses, nothing. But as soon as you open that door, you're letting new stuff in. Okay. So we also have a long-term solution, which is where we put ionic technology in your HVAC system. And the coolest thing about that, it's exactly how our fogging system works. So it's your positive ions and your negative ions. They come together and they wrap around everything. So it makes everything heavy. All those impurities, it makes it heavy and it knocks them down. And then from there, it implodes it from the inside out. Okay. So by having that ionic technology, it goes in your HVAC system. There's no additional maintenance. And I love that, because how many times do people just not do maintenance? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, I'm the worst man in the world.
Uh-oh.
I'm the one that never changes the HVAC filters and all that, right? So I guess we're exposed to a lot of stuff, which probably helps our immune system, but not so good.
Right.
So another place where people get let's say exposed to a lot of stuff is in their vehicle. So do you guys do anything with vehicles?
We sure do. We will fog the inside of the vehicle, and we also always treat the HVAC system in your vehicle too, heat and cool, because whatever's going on that's in that air, it goes into your system and you're breathing it out every time that system comes on, right? So we do recommend that when we do treat it, that you go ahead and change your cabin filter, because that cabin filter holds on to the odors and the pollens and all that. So we suggest you go ahead and clean that. Or not clean it, but you switch it out and put a new one in there. But we will do the sanitizing of the inside of the vehicle and the HVAC system.
And is that a reasonable, like to do a car, let's say a house, is that a reasonable cost, or is that, insanely expensive?
Well, yes, it's very, very reasonable. So for a vehicle, it starts at $55. So it's very, very reasonable. That's for a regular size car. You get to a Suburban, you're talking about $65. So no, we're not talking about big money. For the home, when we do the premises up to 3,000 square feet, it's $249.
Oh.
And then the whole goal, when we started doing this, I'll go there in a minute. Doing the HVAC system is $150 for the system, and that includes one return air vent. Any additional return air vents is $50. So let's say that you have a home that's probably, one system, you probably got 2 returns, and then, the house is around 3,000 square feet. It's probably going to cost you about $449 to have all that done.
Very reasonable too. Again, you get sick with COVID, and what's that going to cost you just one time, right? And the whole family gets sick with it. What does that cost? So that seems. And again, do you do that about once a year? Would you say in a house, or does it need to be done more frequently than that?
Well, the HVAC system, if we're going to come in and treat it, that needs to be done every 6 months.
Okay.
Because it keeps it treated up to the 6-month period. The premises, it just totally depends on your traffic. I mean, everybody's different. Do you have lots of kiddos? Do you have animals running in and out? Do you entertain all the time? So my suggestion is, for a home, just call us when you're feeling like, you know what, I'm starting to feel a little heaviness in here. I feel like things are a little stale. So that could be 2 months. It could be 3 months. It could be 1 month. It just depends on how busy your place is. So we leave that up to you to call us and say, okay, here's where we're at now. I just know for your HVAC, we're good for 6 months, but the home, it just depends on the traffic.
Yeah. And this, I don't have a study or any kind of, let's say, hard data on what I'm about to say, but I would just say that, I'm a mathematician, so I'm all about probability. And again, what's wrong with most of us is we're infected with pathogens. If you can cut down your exposure to pathogens, just mathematically, that greatly increases, your odds of not getting infected with something, right? And so, if it's not in my environment, I don't have to worry about how strong my immune system is to try to beat it. So I think this is this business that you have is going to be very much in demand, even more so than it is now. It's just, this awareness is just starting in people's minds, but when it does, it's really, really, really going to hockey stick. Do you do, like Cindy and I have been involved, let's say, in cannabis activism and in, making medical marijuana legal here in Oklahoma, because we feel like that's a kind of a waypoint on our journey to health understanding and all that. Well, I have a lot of friends who grow. And one of the big things when you grow really any commercial agricultural crop, if you're growing it indoors, is, contaminants, bacteria, same things that get in us. So do you guys deal with like is it safe? Is it agriculturally safe, your product? And then would you deal with like a cannabis grow or a tomato grow or sage grow or turmeric grow or whatever? Okay.
So we do treat grows, but I will say that if they have plants that are growing in another room, the only way we will come in is if it's airtight, so we have no chance of ruining the crop. Because this product, it is eco-friendly and everything, but sometimes it can affect plants, depending on what type of plant. Some do, some don't. You never know. So my thing is, for us to come in, I want to make sure that you either have no plants in there, and we're kind of in that transition when you're cleaning everything out, ready for your next crop. That's when we come in. We sanitize and get all of the fungus and bacteria that's growing in your water system or anything like that, or any contaminants at all. But if it's not airtight and you have stuff growing, I won't come in and do it because I'm not going to buy the crop.
Yeah, no, and that's liability wise, that's probably smart because a lot of those are, we have $1 million in those crop. So you'll come in when someone has, let's say they've finished their grow cycle in a room, they've, pulled the plants out of the room, you'll come into that room and completely disinfect that room. And then do you also put stuff in the HVAC at that time?
We do. Yes. We like to do both because you're kind of like my haircut. See my haircut here? We got long over here. We got short here. If we just do the premises, you're getting this type of a job. You're getting a halfway job. You need the real job. That means we do both. And that way you have a sanitized environment. And I will tell you, we have numbers to prove. When we come in and we treat both the HVAC and the premises, we're talking 88% less sickness. When we treat just the premises, up to 50% less sickness. So we have numbers. We've been doing this we're going into our 6th year, and we've tracked it.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you something interesting. I thought you were part of a franchise. So you're doing this on your own. You're building this. You're building your own SOPs. You're doing this your own way, which I think is really, really cool because you're pretty buttoned up in a franchise-like way, so it's, I won't ask you if you're thinking about franchising it, you probably are, but it looks like a franchise now. So I just thought you were a franchisee, but you're it, which is awesome.
Yes, it was a God thing, 100%. We've been in the cleaning industry since 93. So we're very experienced. We've been doing the cleaning industry for a long time. So experience we have. Getting into the sanitizing, disinfecting, that was totally a God-led thing. In August of 19, I hit my knees. That's where he headed us. And after lots of arguing, he won. And we launched October 15th of 19. And everybody knows what happened in 2020.
Wow.
And we were set and ready to go. And he gets every bit of the glory because it was not my idea. I did not want it. But I love what we're doing now. I just didn't know that's what he was going to direct us into.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting how, if you live a God-led life, I was, making really good 6-figure salaries, had a really good, business, home care business, really enjoyed what I was doing, working with the elderly. And God said, Jeb, go figure out the endocannabinoid system. And it's been like a hellish journey ever since. But I know I'm on the God path, right? And I know that ultimately, whatever's supposed to manifest will manifest there. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. And how many people did you help and save during COVID? So you must have been. Do you have some good stories about situations? So you have a good COVID story? Oh my goodness.
Well, I remember the very first. This was right after COVID had started. And I had a bank call me, and they called like at 9 o'clock in the morning and said, "Hey, can you be here like now?" And I'm like, "Sure, we'll be there in about 20 minutes. I get there, and this is one of the very first ones. I came up to the door, and she had to unlock the door to let me in. And she had gloves on, a mask on, goggles on. I'm like, "Are you okay?" Because, we hadn't even gone to that point at this point, right? And I was like, "Are you guys okay?" And she says, "We have the flu, and we have COVID in here." And I'm like, "Okay, well, we can definitely take care of you." The peace that was on her face, that look of, oh, my God, our rescuer's here. That's what we get every time we show up somewhere. And that is so fulfilling to me. It's like we have a solution that can help you. And it's not even expensive, but it's going to totally kill all of that. So we give you that clean slate right? So, and then another one that's a great testimony is anybody that deals with allergens. Oh my goodness, we can so help. In Oklahoma, allergies is a big deal, right? Well, we have lots of testimonies of people that have done our platinum package. And what that is, we come in and do air duct cleaning. That's so important because whatever's up in that HVAC system, you're breathing that every time that system comes on. You got pollens up there, you got mold spores up there, you got all kinds of stuff up there. So whatever's up there, you're breathing it. And that really needs to be done every 3 to 5 years. We did not know that until we started doing this. So we do the air duct clean. Then we also do the dryer vent cleaning because your dryer vent is your number one fire hazard in your home. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of too. Then we do the electrostatic fogging through the HVAC system. So with the air duct cleaning, we get all the grime and the dirt and the lint and all that out. But you got to remember there's cracks and crevices in there. We want to do the antimicrobial electrostatic fogging after it's clean so we can kill at the microorganism level, right? We've already got the junk out, so let's clean it really, really well, right? Treat it. And then we do the premises at the same time. So we give you a totally sanitized slate. So you have nothing alive, no germs, no viruses, no allergens, odors, mold, mildew, nothing. You'll notice a big difference in your air. It's very, very light because there's no contaminants alive in your space. And then you'll notice a clean scent. There's no perfumes or dyes, but it's just a clean scent. And then that's when we put the ionic technology in there, and that continues to treat your home for 10 plus years.
Wow. That's, it's so just in our world, let's say, because we're a clinic. And so we see so many people in and out. And I'll tell you, like, almost every single autism kiddo is hypersensitive to allergens, right? Since they all just, it's part of the pathology almost of the disease. They'll, you can run your finger down their arm and it'll leave a red streak. And that's how kind of hypoallergenic they are. But this would, again, this is a really good service, a good product. If you have a mold allergy, and again, you have mold in your house, what happens, you're not going to know it every day. You're going to know it when that mold begins to come back to life and when that mold begins to thrive, and mold will sing to mold. So when that mold is, thriving, it's going to sing to the mold inside you and you're going to get sick. Same, with funguses, they kind of do the same thing. So that's, and the fact that you get in the air ducts and kind of clean that out, because that's where those guys like to live. We had a call and that we were, sent to you. So hopefully these people show up, but they were talking about the mold in their house, and they had somebody installed their air conditioning wrong, where it was blowing into their crawl space. And it created a lot of humidity in the crawl space. And so they had a lot of mold in the crawl space, and they were trying to figure out how to disinfect it. So that is something you would do, correct?
Most certainly. We can certainly help any issues that you're having. Now, I will clarify too, everybody's got mold. There's mold everywhere. There's mold outside, there's mold inside, there's good mold and bad mold, and there's excessive mold. Like, you deal with people all the time that have very sensitive immune systems to mold. Mold is a very deadly thing to a lot of people. And I did not realize that either. You know this. I didn't until we started doing this, how sensitive some people are to it and very, very deadly to them. We can knock that out. Now, yes, you're going to continue to get mold, but having that ionic technology in there, you're going to keep it at bay at a good level. You're still going to have some. It just happens. Right? Every time you open that door, you're bringing a little bit in, right?
And mold is something that it's like a little bit of mold can only release a little bit of, let's say, mold spores. A lot of mold can release a lot of mold spores. And again, it's the volume of mold spores is what really, causes, let's say, discomfort and sickness and all that. Are there, other than somebody getting sick frequently in the house, are there or at work, are there warning signs that you guys kind of have identified? So, to your clients, and again, you may not have identified these, but I'm just wondering if there's, if somebody calls and says, hey, I think my house might be full of bugs or whatever, are there things that you ask them to be able to kind of identify if they are or not?
Yeah, we have a lot of calls of, I think we got mold. And it's like, okay, well, then I want to start going through some questions because I want to make sure I meet everybody's expectations. And I'm not about taking your money. I want to make sure what's going on. So I've had people like, well, I've got mold. Okay, where's your mold at? Okay, it's over here. Okay, first, do you know what the cause of the mold is? Yeah, we had a leak in the roof. Okay, good. Did you get that fixed? No, we haven't had it fixed. Okay, well then let's stop right here. What your first step is going to be, call a roofer. Have a roofer come out, get that stopped, and then find out how much is in your attic and where it's gone from there. Sometimes we need to have a mold test done, right? So it just kind of depends on what the situation is. I always want to make sure that they stop the problem before we come in, because if we come in and we treat it, it's going to come right back because you didn't fix the problem. We're not about putting a Band-Aid. We're like you. You get to the root of the things. We get to the root also of what we do. We want to make sure that you got the problem solved. We're going to treat from there and make sure everything is good.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it, and it's interesting. That's we're so in health, let's say our own health, we're so plugged into this, pharma will understand my problem, I'll take a pill and I'll get better. And it really doesn't work that way. You need a whole program in a very similar way that you're saying. And again, if you're not, like understanding how to work your immune system, you're just going to be right back with some other, sickness or something. So that's something that we really work to try to educate people on, is how to defend yourself. But same thing with your house. Again, if you have a giant leak in your roof that lets mold in, it doesn't really do any good to disinfect your whole house, because it's just going to be funky again. Yeah, good point. So you do, commercial businesses other than commercial cannabis? You mentioned a bank. So do you do, just all manner of businesses?
Yes, we do everything. I mean, we've got chiropractors that we do. We've got law firms that we do, tax firms, daycares. Daycares are very, very good. Just think that's a little germ factory. So we go in on a maintenance basis. Some are weekly, some are biweekly, and some are monthly. It just, again, depends on the traffic. We just need to be everywhere. Your church, if your church has a nursery, we need to be in there. If you have children's church, we need to be in there. Think about your congregation. You've got elderly people that have immune issues. You've got young people that have issues. We need to be everywhere. We really need to be everywhere. You got an office that you're working out of. Here's the thing. I can't control what comes in your door, but I can control it once it comes in your door. Make sense? So if Sally comes into work sick, she normally is going to spread that around to everybody. But if we are treating it on a regular basis and you don't have the ionic technology in there, but we come in on a regular basis, you're not going to get sick, because the only way you're going to get sick is if Sally coughs on you, sneezes on you, or maybe has something on her hand and you touch it and you touch your eye, your nose, or your mouth. Other than that, just for the air, she's not going to get sick. Nobody else is going to get sick.
And I want to circle back to allergens too, because that is in my world, if you show up, let's say, with a bunch of allergies, I can give you suggestions, let's say, to cut down on how reactive you are to those things, but I can't really, I can't make them go away, let's say. And we're getting to the point now where we might be able to do that in the future, but it's just, that's a complicated thing. Let's say how an allergy forms and all that is, lots of immune stuff going on there, and all kinds of, second immune system and all kinds of stuff. But if you can mitigate the allergens, hopefully there's a bunch of moms out there just, doing backflips right now that kind of like to listen to the show, because that's a big deal. And I hadn't even thought about nurseries. Anybody who's ever had toddlers knows that every time you send them to daycare, they come back with some new form of the baby plague. So yeah, very interesting. It's cool stuff.
I love it. I'm so glad that I listened, because I love the fact that we can give a solution. There's a solution out there, and it's a solution that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. It's very doable for everybody.
Well, and this is not to get too weird and conspiratorial and kind of spiritual on you, but this to me is a war, and we're this, I think, this beautiful incarnated spirit that drives around this vehicle every day, this physical meat puppet that I drive. But inside of us, we fight a war, and we kind of fight a war between our incarnated self, our spiritual self, and the earth. Okay. And that war, literally the battlefield, is your tissues and the pathogens that want to invade you, right? And again, that's just kind of the way that I view things. I think we fight an external battle, against sin and all that. We fight this internal battle that's more about us understanding ourselves, understanding our physicality, understanding nature and all this. But if we can understand our environment, and if we can protect ourselves through our environment, like what you're doing, it just, I can, again, not that I want to play God, but I can see why God called you to this, because it's super important, and it, kind of helps us win the war. So.
And I appreciate so much what you do. I see you on a regular basis. And I love the fact that you guys love going to the root of the problem. You're not a masker. It's not like, hey, let's put a Band-Aid on it. I love that you get to the root. What's the problem? Because you want us to be well. And we want to be well. That's why we come see you, right? So thank you so much for all your work that you do.
Well, thank you. And it, similarly, God, said, Chip, go do this. And we've tried to do the best that we can along those lines. And we think we've got something that's going to be very helpful and valuable to people as they begin to kind of, change their awareness. Right. And that's, we're both waiting for this hockey stick, right? And you've already kind of hit it with COVID. We're kind of waiting for people to become aware of, this system, let's say, and kind of how things work, and for their awareness in the pharmaceutical system to kind of come down and their awareness of nature to come up. And it, is starting to happen now, which is very exciting. But, it's going to equally favor you, because it, we've just got to kind of beat these bugs. These bugs are the cause of disease, all disease, almost 99% of disease. Cool. So we see each other at something called Mix and Mingle. And this is something that has been incredibly beneficial. I didn't mean to go down this road, but I'm just going to do it. So we're just going to do it, Sybil.
Okay.
So we're going to throw in an ad for Mix and Mingle, because it's been so helpful to Cindy and I in our business to be able to network and to be able to just be with like-minded people, kind of God-focused people. So I want to thank you for starting the Mix and Mingle. And do you want to talk a little bit about the Mix? It's a networking group that she started here in Oklahoma City, but do you want to talk a little bit about what's happened to it, where you're taking it? Because I think that's really exciting, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. It really, really is. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it again was 100% a God thing. I did not plan on starting a networking event. I had somebody that reached out and asked me about starting one. I was like, no, I can't. I need to focus on my pros. And I invited some people to come, and 38 people showed up. I had no idea that would happen. And the whole goal was to come have lunch. So we had 38 people show up for lunch. Can you imagine what we did for that little mom and pop? And we did this at a mom and pop. And so we all go back to the back room, and it's like, guys, do you see the power in this room? We have to do a 1 minute and go around and find out who all's here. Who are you? What do you do? What are you looking for? And after we got done, everybody's like, are you going to do this again? And it's like, well, I don't know. Would you come? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, how about next week? I'm like, no, if we do anything at all, this will be a once a monther. And that's how Mix and Mingle started. So it started March 18th of 21. And mind you, we're coming off of COVID. And what happened during COVID? We had to be isolated. We were not allowed to be around people, right? So when this happened, and this was an opportunity to be around people, they thrived at it, because it's like, oh my God, an opportunity to be around like-minded people? Yes. And this thing grew like crazy. And so within we started March 18th of 21. By October of 22, we had 13 chapters all over Oklahoma City metro area. And then we, January of 23, we knew we had something. We had 17 chapters at that point. So in March of 23, we LLC'd it and trademarked it for all of the United States. We are going out of state. We are going to be everywhere because everybody needs us. Yeah. What's different about Mix and Mingle? Number one, it's friendly. It's a very safe environment. We're based on the go-giver. It's all about how can we help you? It's not, hey, I sell this, will you buy this? It's how can we help each other? Do you feel that when you come?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And, I feel the need to want to help others in the group as well, so it's a very win-win, it's a really win-win situation to me, but yeah.
And it's open to everybody and anybody. We range between 20 and 70 people at each one of our events, very well followed. There's no RSVP. There's no requirements. The only thing we do ask is that you buy your lunch and or a drink to support the establishment, because we meet at mom and pops. We're all small Oklahoma-based businesses, right? So we want to help one another, the other small people, right? So the mission is bringing business professionals together with the community over local food while paying it forward and building stronger communities. So we always have 2 business sponsors that get to speak. They get to speak for about 5 minutes. And you've done this before quite a few times. And what happens when you speak for 5 minutes, everybody gets 30 seconds to a minute to talk, right? Who they are, what they do, what they're looking for. But when you get 5 minutes, that is great. When you get in front of 20 to 70 people that are paying attention to you, you're going to get to explain a lot more about what you do. And people really can understand much more. You get to pass out a flyer or a brochure at that meeting. You also be spotlighted in the email that comes out afterwards. And you're on our website for 30 plus days with backlinks, which we all know how important backlinks are, right? Super important. But one of the advantages with Mix and Mingle is you get the list of everybody that was there. Most places don't do that. That is $1 million list. The value is millions of dollars. And so we teach people that list is not for any newsletters. It is for one-to-ones. It's to sit down, really get to know, like, and trust one another. Find out who their niche market is. Why would somebody use you instead of somebody else? How are you unique and different? Why you? And then who's your niche market that you're looking for? And then also, who's an ideal referral partner that you're locking arms with that brings you business? So those are a couple of things, and very purposefully. We're very purposeful, authentic, genuine, lots of energy in the room. We have a good time.
Yeah, no, it's the coolest thing I've ever been to. I mean, I think it's, we, and this is just our experience. I don't mean this to diss anyone or, talk bad about anyone, but it's just been our experience. So we're kind of, we're alternative healthcare. We're non-medical healthcare. So we're not exactly in the mainstream institutions, but, we have not had much success in networking or promoting our business through, let's say, Chamber of Commerce type circles. But we've had great success in your Mix and Mingles, and so we're just very grateful to you for starting them, having them. And the fact that, it's really interesting how willing people are to have one-on-ones. And that was, I thought, oh, well, we'll go talk to a, doctor's group or something. They won't want to talk to us because we're, natural products, alternative health. But everybody's so willing to work with each other and everybody's so open. So I just, I hope you continue it. I hope you, blow it up. I hope it goes national because it is a cool thing. So, and it, again, all it costs you is lunch. I know you're probably going to add, it needs to cost some. We've gotten, I don't know, thousands of dollars worth of business from it. So it needs to cost something, at some point. And I'm sure you're thinking about that too. So,
yeah. Well, you have more value in something when you pay for it. I mean, it's kind of like if you give a child a car, they don't care so much because they didn't have to go out and work for it. So having a little skin in the game is good. We're not trying to take a maid to the bank, but there will probably become a membership, but it's going to be a very doable membership because really we have a lot of small businesses and the goal is to help them take it to the next level. We provide community so you can meet new people, but then the next level is building that relationship. Where do you go from there? That's the key.
Yeah, no, agree. And it's just, it's, in my mind, again, this is just back to weird, kind of conspiratorial stuff or what I see happening in the world. But we've been sort of, I'm going to buy my toilet paper from China. Well, why in the world am I doing that? Surely there's somebody at a Mix and Mingle, who makes toilet paper or has a sustainable beef ranch or, the stuff that I need every day. Right. And it's way better to do that locally. I know the person, I can go tour their farm. I can go look at their toilet paper factory. I can have a one-on-one with them. I can really get to know them. And that to me is the future of business. It's not going to be, I'm dealing with somebody in China on my giant toilet paper order. It's going to be dealing with Joe over here who, makes toilet paper in Oklahoma City. So
I think that's the mentality of the people that come to this. It's like, let's help one another. Sometimes it may cost just a little bit more because, as a small entrepreneur, we don't have the 30 cents instead of $3 or whatever the situation be, because we're not mass production type of situation, but very on purpose about helping one another. These small businesses, this is what makes America great. This is what makes America move, is small businesses. So we got to keep these small businesses alive. We got to help one another. And talking about natural type of stuff, people, this is what they want right now. People are coming out of the woodwork. It's like, I'm tired of big pharma. I'm tired of big pharma. I don't want the chemicals that's going to give me a side effect. I want the natural stuff. I want to eat good food that doesn't have the steroids and the antibiotics and all of that stuff in it. I want the good, clean, pure stuff. And that's what we get coming to you. And we really appreciate all that.
Yeah, no, and we're even going to extend that more, but it's, it's this whole idea though of, it's kind of us against the bugs. If you look at, I have a different definition of life, right? I think life really has to do with moving electrons. So how rapidly are you moving electrons? And in any particular situation inside your body, you may have tissue that falls below that line. Okay. So you may have, let's say, tissue that's considered dead. As soon as that happens, and this is almost like a siren call to these bacteria and viruses and all the bugs, let's say, as soon as you fall below a certain line of moving electrons, boom, they just automatically show up, right? And so understanding that, but understanding how we keep above that line and how we clean our environment and, how we're not so exposed to them all the time. These are the problems of the health problems of the next 5 to 10 years. And, we're already kind of doing it. You're already doing it, which is awesome. But everything's going to kind of move this way is what I'm saying, because this is the secret to health. It's the secret to how we live to be 1,000 years old, all that stuff. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. I'll talk.
No, I love it. I mean, and everybody I talk to, it just seems like the people that we're surrounded by are all about natural. How can we take care of ourselves in a better way? Well, we can help you with the outside and you guys can help with the inside. It takes teamwork, it takes a community, it takes a village, and we all have something to offer.
An interesting, I don't know if it'll be our next guest on this podcast, but we're kind of talking to a person or with this couple who we're going to have on, but they do food, right? And they do kind of freeze-dried food that's very much in line with kind of how I would want you to eat, let's just say. And how do I know what's best? I've just studied what a cell needs, but they have this whole food program. And we've done recipes and stuff, but that's kind of another piece of this, that people who are doing really healthy food, because I'm going to, as soon as I figure out, gosh, I'm getting infected by stuff and that's the cause of disease, I'm going to want to clean me out. I'm going to want to clean out my environment, and I'm going to want to know how to not have this happen again. Right. And so all those things go together in this kind of new holistic thing, I guess, that we're all kind of trying to build, that God wants us to build, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just super excited that we ran into you, that we know you and Cindy. It's been a great journey, and I'm so excited for where the future holds.
Well, it ditto. You're just a neat lady. You're a very good entrepreneur. You're just a cool person. So I would.
Well, thank you.
I would ditto that. So, okay. Well, you think we need to cover anything else, or have we kind of laid it out there?
Oh, we pretty much laid it out there. Just if anybody is dealing with, sickness, come to you to find out the root cause, but have us come in and take care of the air quality situation, because it's super important. The air that you breathe makes a big difference.
Yeah. And you're prosmakeready.com, right? On the web. You're easy to find. So easy website to find. I found it right off. Beautiful website, by the way. So we did a really good job on your website. Okay. So thank you, Sybil, for joining us today. This has been awesome. And you guys out there, clean your environment. You ask me all the time, how do I protect myself from all this stuff? Clean your environment. That's the best way. And certainly, if you've got kids that are repeatedly sick, if you likely got mold in your house or fungus in your house. So call Sybil, please. And thank you, Sybil, for being here today.
Thank you so much, Chip. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So we'll see you guys next week for another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast, and we'll leave it there. Thank you, Sybil.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye.